There's a 2-hour limit at my motorway services. Is this going to stop me charging my EV? I get this as a comment more often than I would expect. I'm Dave. Welcome to Dave Takes It On. And let's have a look at that particular worry and see if we can settle it once and for all. I can understand when people buy their first EV or thinking of buying their first EV, they have their concerns. Everybody does, even me. However, when you start looking into it and doing a bit of basic research, you suddenly find that most of these worries are just the novelty of it. You don't actually know about it, and they're not an actual worry. When I'm out filming, it's quite different. I will often start filming, then I might meet someone might recognise me, come over, have a talk, we'll do that. I'll go back, do a bit of filming, someone else will come over. I might want to wait until lunchtime and see if there's a rush hour queue or anything like that. So for me, the 2-hour limit is really quite an inconvenience. And once I did go over, didn't realise it, and when I set off, later on I got a penalty notice for it. Just a luck of the draw. So, apart from me, who's there filming, what's it like for someone who's not filming? So, we're going to first of all look at cars and have a look at the charging speed. And then we're going to have a look at the charges that you're likely to meet when you get to a motorway service station. And then we'll have a look at how fast these things charge and how long you are likely to be in a worst case scenario. So, starting with the cars. So the very bottom end of the scale, you'll get something like your Dasher Spring. These have a 27 kilowatt hour maximum speed for charging. So they charge probably the slowest of any car. They are CCS2, but they charge the slowest of any car you could think of. Now moving up the scale a little bit, you get up to your Nissan Leaf, your Renault Zoes, and other smaller cars like your Vauxhall Corsas and Astras, your Citroen C4Es, your MG4s, things like that. And these are a little bit more. These are generally in the 50 to 100 kilowatt range. Once you get above that, some of the MG4s, then you get into Polestars, you get Mercedes, Audis. These are usually charging well into the mid 100, 150, and sometimes as much as 200 for the top models. And then there are a few right up the top, and these are things like the Audi e-tron GT and a Mercedes EQE and some of the Teslas, and those will get up to 250, some of them up maybe towards 300. And the top of the range is the Lotus Electra, and that one can go up to 350. But for the sake of the exercise, I'm going to say you haven't got a Lotus Electra, probably not even many out on the roads at the moment, and your car's got an average charging speed of 100 kilowatts. That's your maximum speed you're likely to get. That doesn't mean you're going to get that. It means it's the maximum speed your car can accept. This is set in the factory, and it's down to the components they use. So if it says on the label you've only got 100 kilowatt power maximum, you can plug into a 200, a 300, a 350 kilowatt charger. It won't do any harm, but you'll only get 100 kilowatt maximum out of it. You very rarely get the 100 because there are other factors coming into play, which I'm not going to cover right at the moment, but we're just looking what we could find. So the next thing we need to look at, how big is your battery? How much do you actually want to charge? And the average size of the battery is probably around about 50 kilowatt hours. Now again, this varies dramatically. That same Dasher Spring, it's got a 32 kilowatt hour battery. That's about the size of some of the batteries in hybrids. These are tiny little batteries. And the top of the range is the big BMWs and the big Mercedes EQEs. They got around about 100 kilowatt hour batteries. So we go from 32 kilowatt hours up to over 100 kilowatt hours. And most of these have about a 50 kilowatt hour battery. So first question, do you need to put in 50 kilowatts? No, you never will. So you're not going to arrive at the motorway services with a totally flat battery at 0. Now most of us work on percentages. Once we get down to about 20%, we start looking for somewhere to charge, and very rarely do we go below 10%. So in our 50 kilowatt hour capacity battery, 10% will be 5 kilowatts hours, and 20% would be 10 kilowatt hours. On a 50 kilowatt charger, we don't normally charge up to 100%. You can do, I've got no problem with people who do. It's just usually a very silly thing to do. got separate videos covering how much you should charge to and why. But if you've got all the time in the world and you don't mind, charge it up to 100%, not a problem. So most people will charge up to about 80%. This is average, or it's what the manufacturers tell you. So we're going to not use the top 20% of the battery. That's 10 kilowatt hours. So we're going to arrive with maybe 10 kilowatt hours of battery left. And we're going to leave with 10 still missing from what we need. So we're only going to be charging 30 kilowatt hours. Okay, so forget the idea of you going in and filling a battery from 0 to 100%. That doesn't happen out on the road, or it shouldn't happen out on the road. We're going to be putting in about 30 kilowatt hours in an average charging session. So what charger are you going to find? Well, first of all, you might find a 7 kilowatt fast charger at Motorway services. These are not intended for road trips. They're usually found where you have a hotel. Now, in a hotel, these are fast chargers. Well, they call them fast chargers, I don't know, but these are chargers which are meant for overnight use or long stay use. So if you're staying in a hotel, plug your car in at night, wake up in the morning, it's fully charged. They're not used out on the road as a fast charger. So if you're only putting in 30 kilowatt hours, the chargers you're going to use are rapid or ultra rapid chargers. Now, rapid charger is a minimum 50 kilowatts. So if you want to put in 30 kilowatt hours, well, they're less than an hour. So your 2 hour on the motorway services stop limit doesn't apply for this. Okay, there are some faster chargers. Some of them are 100 kilowatts, 150, 200, 250, even 350. So let's plug into a 350 kilowatt. Now, if you do plug into a 350 kilowatt and your car can only accept 100, you're only ever going to get maximum 100. You won't get the 100, but that's the maximum you'll get. So for most people going to motorway services, you're only going to be getting up to 100 kilowatts out of a charger. So if you want 30 kilowatt hours added and you're using a 100 kilowatt supply, which is going to drop off slightly, you're going to be looking at something like half an hour. So the average EV car in the UK pulling up to a motorway services with 50, 100, 150, 350 kilowatt chargers is likely to be there somewhere between 30 and 50 minutes. That's it. At no time will you be approaching the limit of the car park. So even a Dacia Spring, probably the worst charging car and the smallest battery in the world, you're not going to be there much more than an hour. It's amazing, isn't it, when you start looking at it? So all these people dashing off to find the 350 kilowatt chargers in the Vauxhall Astra E's, which can charge at maximum 100 kilowatts, total waste of time. For a lot of people, you're never going to get your maximum rate of 100 kilowatts. Just very briefly touching on it, if your battery's half full, you won't get 100 kilowatts. You'll probably get nearer 50. So if you go to motorway services, everyone's queuing up for the 350 kilowatt chargers. If you spot a couple of the old 50 kilowatts around the back not being used, go and charge there. You'll probably get as fast a speed out of those as you will out of a 350. So what I hope I've been able to show is that you're not going to have a problem with the parking time limit at a motorway services. Now, the worst case scenario I can think of, GridServe still have some of the old 50 kilowatt chargers, and some of these 50 kilowatt chargers are dual bay. So the worst you're likely to see is if you go and the only charger there is one bay on a dual bay 50 kilowatt charger. When you go and plug in there, the maximum you're going to get is 25 kilowatts. That's it. You're going to share it between two. However, you're only going to put in 30 kilowatt hours. So you're looking about an hour, hour and a half. Worst case scenario, hour and a half. Now, one of the other things you need to consider is what you're doing when you stop. So if you just stop in to have a pee break and pick up a coffee and then on your way again, you want the fastest you can. So you wouldn't go for a slower charger. But if you're stopping for lunch, there are sometimes advantages in trying to find a 50 kilowatt charger and plugging into that. So if you've got a car like a Tesla, which can charge at 175 kilowatts, and you plug it into a 50, it'll be really slow. Now, that actually works really well, Because if you're going to stop for an hour for a lunch at a motorway services, you don't want to have to dash off after 15 minutes, which is all it takes, to top that one up. You want to sit and have your lunch. So plug it into a 50 kilowatt, and what you'll find is it'll take an hour. But you don't mind, because you're having lunch. You're not waiting for your car. You're waiting for your lunch and finishing your lunch, having a chat, having a coffee, whatever you do, and then wander back to the car. So I would suggest that if you have the choice between a 350 kilowatt and a 50 kilowatt and you're stopping for lunch, consider the 50 kilowatt. It might be a better choice for you. Strange, isn't it? Everyone automatically thinks, oh, the higher power charger, the faster I'll charge. No, it doesn't. So you can't overload your car, you can't force more in than the car can take. Your car will take whatever it takes up to its maximum. So look for your right charger. Yeah, if you had a nice lunch and you're feeling a bit full and you put your head back to, oh, I'll just have a little snooze, then you might incur some of the penalties for overstaying the 2 hours. But it's not going to be because of the charging. Well, thanks very much for watching. If you have enjoyed this video, please click the like button. And if you'd like to see more, please subscribe and click the notification bell so we can notify you next time we launch a video. And a massive thank you to all our Patreon supporters. It is your support that enables us to go out and make these videos for you. So thank you very much for your contribution. I'm Dave.